Hello everyone, Patrice Giordano here. Good morning. Today's topic is the generic structure of news reports. We are going to look into news reports and we are going to analyze how the information is presented in the news reports. By the end of the video, you will be aware that actually you have to be critical when it comes to reading news reports. Why? Because it potentially can mislead you. It potentially can shape your mind, can influence the way you perceive the world. And so you have to be careful. Now, let's dive into my slides in order to hear the explanation from my lecture. Yes, so this is our topic for today. It's a news discourse. Yeah. So news can be divided into two different parts, two major parts. One is a summary. Summary actually consists of headline, the headline, the title, and lead. Lead is actually something that follows the headline and it summarizes the content of the news. Yeah. And then you have the attribution, the deadline, time. I think you are familiar with this. And then the second one is the news story itself. Now the news story consists of the episode and the comments. Now the episode is further divided into events and consequences. And events are divided into the main event. Now this is the core of the news. This is the most important part of the news. This is what makes the news. Yeah. This is something new which is presented to the readers. Yeah. And then besides that, you have the background. Now, background is information which has already been known by the readers. So the main event, the news itself, something that is new, is presented against the background. The background is something that the readers are already familiar with. Okay, so actually when you look at a piece of news, then you focus your attention on here because this is the main part. This is the core of the news. This is the core of the discourse. Yeah, the main event presented against the background. Main event is something which is very new, which makes the news, which is the core, the essence, the most important information in the text. And the background is information which you have already been familiar with, which you have already known. Yeah. Okay. So after presenting the main event and the background, there is consequences. Now, consequences are things that are caused by the main events. Again, these are the things, the condition or situations or whatever it is, which is caused by the main event. So if the main event is a car crashed into a barrier, that's the main event. And then the consequence is the driver was killed instantly. Now that's the consequence. Okay, so anything that is caused by the main event is called consequence. Now, consequence can be another event, or a verbal reaction. Verbal means comments or utterances by people. Coming back to my previous example, a car crashed into a barrier, killing the driver, or the driver was killed instantly. The chief officer, the chief police said this was because of reckless driving. Now that is the comment. That is the comment from the chief police. And that's a remark, an utterance made by someone in response to the main event. That's called verbal reaction. So when something is said or uttered or written by somebody, by a human being, then it is called verbal reaction because it has something to do with saying, with writing, with stating something. Most commonly, it is done by a human being. It can be official, authority figure, somebody from the government, or the victims, if it is an accident, a report of accident, the witness, or witnesses. Yeah. So things like that are called verbal reaction. Okay, now summing up, the news discourse can be divided into this, and this is the core point, the most important point, which is the main event. And the main event is usually presented against the background. Background is something which is already familiar to the readers. And then you have consequences. Consequences are things or situations that are caused by the events. And then consequences itself branches off into event, another event, which is the cause, which is caused by the main event, or verbal reaction. Verbal reaction means a comment, an utterance, a statement made by someone. Okay, so that's the generic structure of a news report. Now, you might notice that in news discourse, the most important information is presented first here. Yeah, in discourse, it is called deductive organization. Deductive means that the most important point is presented first. Yeah, that is the opposite of that is inductive. In inductive structure, the most important point is presented last. Like when you are reading a short story or a novel, the most important point, yeah, the peak of the climax is presented last, right? You have to follow the story quite closely, yeah, seeing it unfold, feel the tense of the plot, yeah. Finally, before you get into the climax, and the climax is the inductive point, the most important point which is presented last in the novel. That's inductive. But in deductive, the writer or the sender presents the most important point first. Yeah, as in the news. In the news, the main event is usually presented first, and therefore it is deductive. Now you have to be careful here because the editors of the newspaper or the journalists have the chance to decide what is presented first. Yeah, and that might be something that will provoke you emotionally or that will make you worry. Yeah. So for example, if you read a news that goes like this, coronavirus is getting uncontrollable, presented first. Now that will get you to be worried, right? Wow, coronavirus, there's no way we can defeat this. We will die because coronavirus is uncontrollable. Yeah, so that's a tactic of a journalist or news editors, and so you have to be cautious when reading a piece of news. Yeah. Remember that what goes into the title, what goes into the headline, is intended to provoke you, to influence your way of thinking. Yeah, if you're not careful, then you will be driven, you will be influenced blindly by this headline or by the title. Okay? Yeah, so now let's look at the example. So this is the example, a text in Indonesian entitled Korban Meninggal Akibat Virus Corona Tembus 2.000 orang. Now this is obviously the headline. It is followed by lead. Again, this summarizes the content of the text or of the news. Now the first paragraph is virus corona yang diyakini muncul dari sebuah pasar hewan di kota Wuhan, Provinsi Hubei pada Desember 2019 yang lalu. Now this is the background. This is something that the readers are already familiar with, something that they have known. Yeah, so this is the background. And then when we go on to the next part, Otoritas China melaporkan 136 kematian baru akibat virus corona di wilayahnya. Tambahan ini membawa jumlah korban tewas akibat wabah virus corona melampaui angka 2.000 kasus secara global. Seperti dilansir media nasional China, Global Television Network, etc., etc. Now, this is the main event. The main event. This is the core of the news. This is the most important information in the news. Yeah, without this, it's not news. Yeah, because nothing is new there. Yeah. So this is the main event, the core of the essential point of the news. Yeah. And it still continues up to this the end of this paragraph. This is still the main event. And then you have the consequence. Yeah. See this paragraph, menyusul perkembangan terbaru itu, pemerintah China mempercepat pendanaan untuk riset kilat menemukan antivirus. Yeah, so this is the consequence. This is caused by the main event. The main event causes this, or this is caused by the main event. Therefore, this is the consequence. Yeah, it's an action by the Chinese government to respond to the situation, and they hurriedly do research in order to find the cure, yeah, against the virus. And then still continues to this, berbagai laboratorium mikrobiologi di seluruh wilayah China telah menerima paket-paket pendanaan dan bantuan teknis. So again, this is the consequence, something that is caused by the main event. Yeah. And then look at the new paragraph here. Kami telah berhasil menekan laju infeksi baru, kata Menteri Kesehatan China, Li Wenliang. Sekarang yang kami lakukan adalah mempercepat pemetaan struktur genom virus itu sehingga bisa dirancang penangkalnya. Again, this is the consequence, but this is in the form of verbal reaction. Why verbal? Because this is in the form of somebody's utterance, somebody's comment. Here, an authority from the Ministry of Health. Yeah, because this is his or her utterances, then it is a verbal reaction. Because verbal, you know, it has something to do with speaking or writing. In this case, this is speaking, a verbal comment. Yeah. Made by an authority. And why this is consequence? Because this is caused by the main event described before. Okay, now you know the consequence in the form of verbal reaction. Yeah, consequence can be in the form of event, yeah, the Chinese government's action, and in the form of verbal reaction, a comment from an authority. Yeah. And then now the last paragraph, China, negara yang sedang bersiap menjadi superpower itu, sekarang nyaris lumpuh akibat makhluk berukuran tak lebih dari 1 mikron. Now this is the comment from the editor or from the journalist. This is not in the news. This is their opinion. This is their way of influencing your perception toward China. Now be careful here because I said this is dangerous. Why dangerous? Because it potentially influences your perception of the situation. Yeah. When you read this, you might have an opinion toward the Chinese government. You might believe that yes, now China, which is a superpower country, is now helpless, is now under attack from a very little entity, a virus. Yeah. It is powerless now because of this attack. So now your opinion toward China is being influenced by the comment here. And so this is the most critical part in news. If you are not critical, if you don't exercise your critical thinking, then you will just take it just like that. You will believe in it. You will have a somewhat negative opinion about China without looking further into the facts, considering the some other sources and etc. Yeah. You are influenced by the comment. Yeah. So again, this is a very critical point in which the journalists can influence your opinion. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go to the example. No, not example. This is actually an assignment. Yeah, look at this piece of news and then try to analyze the news into the elements. Yeah, the headline, the main events, the consequence, the verbal reaction if there is any, and also comment. Yeah, so you see this. So vaksin merah putih terbukti efektif. Hampir 2 tahun setelah pertama kali digagas dan mulai dibuat, vaksin merah putih yang sudah menjalani uji klinis lengkap telah mulai menunjukkan hasilnya. Sebanyak 20 juta rakyat Jawa Timur yang mendapatkan vaksin ini terbukti sehat dan tidak terinfeksi virus, kendati mereka telah bekerja seperti biasa. Ya. Begitu berita keberhasilan itu tersebar, Kimia Farma kebanjiran pesanan bahkan dari negara-negara tetangga. Ini sungguh suatu keberhasilan yang merupakan karunia Tuhan dan kerja keras bangsa Indonesia. Demikian Presiden Jokowi memberikan komentarnya. Namun rakyat Indonesia bukan hanya 20 juta orang, masih ada puluhan juta lain yang menunggu untuk bisa divaksin. Apakah pemerintah bisa menyediakannya? Tentu masih pertanyaan besar. Okay? Yeah, so now you look at this news and try to determine which one is the headline, which one is the main event, which one is the consequence, and whether the consequence is another event or verbal reaction, and also whether there is a editor's or journalist comment at the end of the news reports. Okay, you know what to do. Okay, that's all. Stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye for now.